All right, Coach has got a couple of you in here. Coach Ernst is going to talk about GT scheme. So, Paul, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and it's all yours, my man.
All right. Paul Ernest. I'm the head football coach at Gentry High School in Gentry, Arkansas. We are a personnel-based football team, which means we have a lot of personnel groupings and different ways that we get to the different plays that we run. But our main thing that we like to do is run the football. We do have air raid concepts, and because of the way you can marry counter trade GT counter into about any kind of personnel grouping, it's become our number one run play. What I want to try to do today is give you a little bit of what we do, kind of how we do it, how we drill it, how we set it all up, and you're going to see some references to some of the past programs that I've been in. We were a Delaware Wing T program back in the early 2000s where I was at, and Denny Crehan has a group of practices called Racehorse Practice Plan, and you're going to see some of that, how it's put into the spread offense and counter trade game. And then you're also going to see we were a flex bone team at another place I was at, and I really liked the way they isolated the offensive line in pod sections. And you're going to see how we implemented that and how we use that inside the teaching of our counter trade. You're also going to get a little bit of adjustments, both offensive line and blocking scheme. You're going to get RPO stuff, and it should fit into about any offense. You can take what you want, you can throw out what you want, how we drill it, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody one-on-one about kind of how we signal it and get it done. It's not near as long as what it's going to show up on some of these PowerPoints. But Brant, the high school I'm at in Arkansas is Gentry High School in Gentry, Arkansas. We're a 4A program, which is right in the middle. We struggle with numbers. We have a large Hmong population that doesn't participate hardly anything but soccer. They make up about 40% of our student body, so we play with lower numbers. So you're going to see that most of our kids go both ways. That's also a thought and consideration in how we practice. And, we had struggled. They had the last 3 years was the first time in program history. I've been there 5. The last 3 years is the first time in program history that they've made the playoffs for 3 consecutive years. And we had our best record since 1997 in our senior class. Graduated as the winningest senior class since the 80s. So it's a slow build, but we're getting there, and I'll get started on the presentation. So I'm going to go to screen share, and you should be able to see that. Get to the slideshow. All right, so there's my contact information, and you can text or call. I don't do Twitter yet, but I'm going to have to after this deal. I see its value a little bit more, but that's where I'm at. That's what we do. You notice that it's a capital T and a big G, and there's a reason for that. We call it anytime tag is put on anything, that's tackle and guard pull. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about. 5 and 6 tag, 3 and 4 tag, the bash, the follow, the read, and the cue concept. For us, that's basically one play and different ways that we get to it based on different things the defense is doing. So those are just a bunch of run game terms. I always include that. So, most of it's pretty familiar to most of you. Base, fold, gap, backer, skip. Those are all different techniques. Skip is a pull technique. Wheel is a pull technique. Trap. We call it trap instead of kick because we want our guard on that play to trap the guy that he's responsible for. He can trap him out or he can trap him in. It makes us no difference based on their reaction. If they're a hard squeezing team, we want to trap him inside, not let him cross face to our outside. If they're an upfield team, we want to trap him out, not let him cross face to our inside. So we don't necessarily say pull and kick. We say pull and trap, and that's how we communicate it. Some of these other ones won't be included in this. Bacon, you will get some idiot stuff. You won't get any bacon that's in our stretch play. And then nose is a read. You will get some Rex and Lex down here at the bottom and rope and lope. And you will get how we practice that and get to it because it seems like quite a bunch. And we'll get to that. All right, so these are our basic backfield actions. I don't know how big that is on your screen, if you can see that or not. But our basic backfield action, our default action is the top one right here. And on this top one, that's just base. The T aligns opposite and the point of attack, and he's the default ball carrier, and he runs toward the hole. So if we just called, in this case, 5 tag, he would line up on the right, and he would run as a direct ball carrier to the left. This one is cut backfield action. So if we called 5 cut, he's going to line up on the play side. He's going to take the handoff and cut back. And then this is Q backfield action. So when we tag it 5Q, the Q knows he's carrying it. The T aligns on the play side. It's a full play fake across, and then the Q keeps it. And then this is our lead backfield action right here. And that's the backs in the backfield are all leading for the Q. We can tag that to get a lead and still hand it off to the running back, but we don't do it very much because we're in a lot more 11 or 20 personnel with a sniffer. So when we just call lead, there's leading for the Q. Down here are some other backfield actions that we have. We have a Fresno backfield action, which has somebody coming in front of the quarterback in a jet sweep motion. And then we have a Utah backfield action, which he comes and goes behind the quarterback, and there's a ride of the T and then a turnaround and a ride of the motion of the Utah. And that's part of my wing T background. So it looks kind of like buck sweep. All right, so for this right here, this is a description of what idiot means, because I'll be referring to that quite a bit throughout this presentation. So this is 5 for us diagrammed, and we base everything out of 5 as power for us. So when we get into just calling 5 out of our 20 personnel, this is what it would look like. We would have gap down, double the 3. Gap down backer, gap down, double the 3, on back opposite. So in this case, it'd be back right, wheel to inside linebacker, and close and hinge. In this case, we have a 4-eye that is more of a man than my tackle, and he can't wash him down, and everything's getting clogged. We don't always like to kick this outside guy. So we have this called idiot, which says this guy is inside of me and I can't handle him. So I am going to give a quick pass set, and I'm going to go to a man based on the box call. In this case, we have a nickel call, which means we have enough people in the box to block. So he's going to go out of the box. If this were a box call, like down here at the bottom, then he would have to quick set and get to a linebacker in the box. So that's kind of how we tie that in. When we call tag, we are saying that the tackle and guard are now pulling, and it's replacing the power. So the guard would replace the kick of the S. The tackle would replace the wheel pull of the guard, and our S now knows he's replacing the tackle's close and hinge. So he would come down here and split. So this play is just 5. If we were running the counter tray action, this would be 5 tag. And there's 6 diagrams, same thing going the other way. These are some motions that we use to set people where we want them. Again, everything's drawn up out of a 20 personnel with a sniffer. This is just move. So as you see that tag, this is bounce. And then Fresno motion is I've already talked about it. There's Utah motion. We use this motion quite a bit. This is flash motion. This would be flash left for the T. So the quarterback's going to send him out when he clears the tackle box. He's going to call for the snap. He is going to be looking for rotations or numbers out here to throw a pre-snap RPO. We'd rather just throw it out to here if they don't have enough, and just let him take this one-on-one block and have one-on-one with a ball carrier. This is a Fresno motion. It's going behind. I'm sorry, a bullet motion. It's going behind. So this would be bullet right. We have all the same thing in play with that as it ties into our counter trade game with our pre-snap RPOs and so on and so forth. So our base schemes that we run it out of 2 schemes. We run our counter tray out of 5 and 6, which is our base power scheme. And we run it out of 3 and 4, which is our base ISO scheme, or for some of you, 1 back power. We do that for 2 different reasons. The main reason we do that is sometimes we have a hard squeeze, and nothing seems to be working, and we still want to get it up inside, particularly to an under front. Those guys are coached pretty well and then pretty good at scraping over the top. So instead of having a defensive end that keeps meeting my guard in the hole and blasting him and possibly losing him to a concussion, when we go tag in 3 and 4, our play side tackle is now going to base number 2 from center, which is usually that 5 technique. And he has several different options he can use to do that. Sometimes he will, if he's like a war daddy that just dominates, we'll give a quick pass set and show a high hat, high hands, and try to encourage him to rush upfield. Then we'll carry him out and run our counter tray inside of that with no kick, double lead. So that works pretty well for us. And there's some drills and schemes in here, video in here to show that. All right, so that's just our base 5 power. This is going to be drawn up against about everything. So these are the personnel groups we use. For us, Air Force is 4 wide receivers or 10 personnel. And then down here you see Bombers is 11 personnel, and this has the blocking schemes drawn up for all of it. Play side bomber, backside bomber, those are tight ends. And then a play side jet and a backside jet, sniffers. And then it's through all of our stuff, and then this is recorded, so I'll kind of leave it up here just a little bit longer in case you want to freeze it and go back and look at it. But again, this is all still just power. We haven't gotten to the tag that gets us to counter tray yet. And then here are some adjustments that we make based on different even fronts. If we get a tight front, we're down, back to the backer. Remember, the S is still kicking this guy, or we're reading him in some way, shape, or form. And then here are some odd front adjustments that we make. And then we got the same thing to the right. All right, there's our base 1 back power, 1 back ISO. Again, odd is to the left, even is to the right. I'm only going through that to show you how we get to our counter tray. And there again is our ISO to the right, or 1 back power, as some people want to run it. And that's from every personnel group we run. Something that's kind of unique about what we do. This is still Air Force personnel up here. You'll notice that there's 2 running backs. How we get to a 2 running back set is we add the word tails. When we add the word tails, we have 2 tailbacks in the backfield, and we take out always the Y receiver, because our S is our adjuster, and that allows us to get in multiple formations with 2 backs. So right here you're seeing Air Force tails. So this is 20 personnel with 3 wide receivers. Here we got Bombers tails. So he's in a tight end, and now we're in a pro set. Here we have another Bombers tails. Here we have another Bombers tails, and then down here we have what we call Jets, which is our sniffer package, and still with the tails. So nothing changes. We teach 3 personnel groups and then have a tails adjustment. We also have a race adjustment, which puts 2 S's in that can be done with all this, but I don't have that drawn up in here. And then the adjustments there. All right, so as we get into our tag schemes, this is what tag means. TAG, tackle and guard pulled to the hole. In all 10 and some 11 personnel, tag will always have a read, which tells the quarterback to read the backside defensive end. In 20, 30, and some 11 personnel groups, the S or another T in tails will be in position to split the backside end, and the read is not needed, although we do still tag it, give us an extra blocker. Base tag scheme is married to our front side 5 and 6 power scheme, because for us, 5 and power on the front side and counter tray on the front side is blocked exactly the same rules. So it just keeps the front 3 side guys only having to learn 1 play, which is 5, and the backside guys are listening for tag, and they are executing tag scheme. If the play is bounced by hard squeezing in and he's really, really getting down in the hole and it's getting hard, then we can adjust by using our 3 and 4 front side blocking scheme, which again is 1 back power and 1 back ISO. So this is a diagram for 5 tag. So in this case, we have gap down backer, we have gap down double the 3, and this is drawn up against our defense. So, and with our defensive adjustments, so we're going to be in a 3-3 stack pretty much, or a 3-5-3. And so that's what you're going to see these drawn up against. And right here, there's nobody responsible for this backside end, so I would tag read to that. And this quarterback right here, as he's riding this mesh, would read that end, and he'd be out the backside with a pull if he chased hard. This double team is drawn up like it's going back to this backside end, but that's not how we teach double teams. We teach gap double teams is never giving up gap side integrity. So in this case right here, we're having a double team on this nose, and we don't want, even if this backer fast scrapes over the top, I never want my gap side offensive lineman coming off. I think it's too much to ask this center to take that over and make that play and this guy come off. Now, we'll pick this guy up a lot, and then this guy will end up splitting the double team and making the play. So if we're doing a gap double team as opposed to a zone double team, this outside guy is going to stay on the double team, and we're trying to get a vertical drive, and the inside or backside lineman, in this case it's the center, always has his eyes to this backside A gap. So our goal is to take this nose and drive him back far enough to where if this Willie wants to enter in right here, now our center will come off. Our running backs are also drilled and taught to read that right there. And if he fast scrapes over the top, then he wants to go ahead and cut back. So, and you see a drill for that. And so that's how we would block it in that case. Here, down here at the bottom, you'll notice that we have the Air Force or the Bomber's S still in. He's just following his rule of gap down backer as a play side right here. So he is gap down, so he's going to end up here. We're still having to read this backside end. If you look at this one, in this formation, the S is on the backside, and his backside rule on 5 is close and hinge. So now we don't have to have a read. And so when we want to RPO the front side or we want to RPO down here, field, because our quarterback can't have eyes in 2 different places, we can't read that guy and that guy at the same time. We always have somebody to account for that, for what would be our read guy and 10 personnel. And then these are just different formations. And again, the same blocking adjustments. We run it the same way to the right, and it all just basically stays the same. Gap down backer for anybody play side, tackle, tight end, and then our double teams. You'll see right here in this bottom one, we're running it with a 3 technique. And again, my center should be back here. I missed that, but right here, we're double teaming that 3. But again, we're not trying to overtake with the inside lineman to the outside. We're trying to get a vertical drive and only come off if something enters this inside gap. Now, something can enter that inside gap. This nose could run across face with the Willie trying to blitz right here. When that happens, the guard is responsible for any A gap entry. So as he goes to double team right there, if that Willie were to walk up pre-snap or the nose were to show a slant, that way he would be responsible for that backside A gap. And then the center would come off and take this one. All right, and then this is drawn up with our 3 when we're getting that hard squeezing end, which happens more in a 4 front than it does in a 3 front. If we're in a 3 front, we have a hard squeezing end, we would give an idiot call, which we'll get to in more depth here in a little bit. But in this case right here, where this guy has not been an issue, we're going to drive him as he's number 2 from center, which is our rule for the play side tackle on our 1-back power and ISO game. So we count the nose as both number 1 front side and back side. So the play side guard is down on number 1. The center is basing number 1 backside, so that gives us a natural double team. And again, our gap double team rules stay in effect. Both the guard and tackle are pulling, so the quarterback would have a read call tagged onto this, and we're going to try to hit it up in here. Now, this guy knows if the end, when I base him, falls inside, I crash him. If he goes out, I wash him. And then if he's too much to handle, he can give a high hat and then run him by almost in a screen or draw technique. And so that's our counter trade with base on the front side. To the left, there it is drawn up in different formations and personnel groups. And again, still to the left. Then the adjustments that we make. Some of these are pretty tough to do, so they're not great calls. This one right here against a 6-2 adjustment is definitely not a great call. You have 2 unblocked defenders, 2 read defenders on the backside, which is for our quarterback. We tell him if there's another man walked up outside to read, it's an automatic give. Or we have to tag something else to it. And then on this front side, but if they're running that based on the personnel group that I'm in, it's probably goal line or probably something there. And if they're doing that against our Air Force 4 wide, I better be just throwing up the bubble or something, because that's something they can't defend with 8 in the box. And then to the right, same thing to the right. So that's how we call it. And then we can get to our bash schemes using the same thing. Tag, again, tackle and guard, pull to the hole. Rex is a term we use. It's a backfield action for our quarterback. It means right end read. It also means a sweep to the right. So anytime the word Rex is used, T is the default ball carrier. He's going to line up on the left. and he's going to come and run sweep to the right. And we can also tag that with a receiver, like here, Fresno 5-tag S-Rex. So that's the X coming across in jet sweep, and now the T is leading. And because we're reading the right end, that would be tagged with an odd call, like 5-tag Rex. And now that's going to tell our quarterback to read the right end. He is keeping it on the counter trade to the left. If the end chases, he gives to the T on the sweep. So down here, you see if the defensive end chases, the pull by the Blacks backside tackle, the QB gives the ball to the sweep ball carrier. The defensive end chases a sweep, the quarterback keeps the ball and attacks the designated hole. All skill personnel, doesn't matter which side they're on, block sweep rules. So that's how we get to our bash. Here it is drawn up. So this is the exact same counter tray play where we were giving it to the T coming across here. But now he's running a sweep motion across here, and the quarterback is reading the right end because it's 5-tag with a Rex call. And you can see how we get to it in every personnel group. And these are the blocking rules, both front side and back side for the offensive line and tight ends and sniffers. All right, and then here's the same play going with the sweep to the left and the counter trade to the right, and that is called Lex, left end read. So all the rules stay the same. Quarterback on this, as we'll get to the drills here in a little bit, the coaching point on this for us is this is a static read. So we will actually, when we go to install these, we start with 6-tag read, and his footwork is the same, or his read timing is the same on read as it is on Lex, so that he knows he's not moving with it as like a power read, because if he moves with it, he gets further from the hole and this guy can react and fall down inside. So this is a static read like you'd make on zone read or your normal counter trade read game. Something for us that we do is we align our quarterback and our tailback side by side. The quarterback or the tailback, based on his speed, can align anywhere from the outside foot of the guard to stack behind the tackle. Faster they are, the further out they can align. And when the ball is snapped, the quarterback catches. And if we are running a normal read game, he steps downhill with the foot closest to the running back and makes his ride from that position. But if we're running any Rex and Lex or sweep game, when he catches the ball, he steps back with the foot closest to the running back, give him a sweep path. The running back is always responsible for the mesh. The quarterback is responsible for the read. So that's how we get to our bash concept. And we can do it. This is drawn up at the front side ISO game. So we're still running counter tray. We are now just basing and running the one back ISO and still running our bash. So this one down here at the bottom, we get this look a lot. And this has been a really good play for us. We're running Rex out this way. Quarterback's reading this guy. When he pulls it, he's straight downhill. We're basing that 3 technique out. We're basing that 5 technique out. And these play side tackling guard here, they have a lot of freedom in how to do that. When they're basing, basically they have the freedom to give any kind of influence look they want as far as passing game to encourage that guy to run himself up and outside to help with their block. We do that because we're not very big up front. You'll see some film that I have a tackle that's in there that's 153 pounds, and that's just what we have. Again, our numbers aren't great, and we just have to find ways to run the ball when defenses are coached really well. So, in this case, if this was a case to where they're playing the power, our quarterback runs the ball a lot. So, and he's our best running back. So a lot of times when we're running counter tray action, this guy will sit to force the quarterback to give it. And so in this case, if he sits, our quarterback usually, because he's greedy, will pull it and head upfield. If he chases out, he'll pull it and head upfield. But if he squeezes it all, he'll give the sweep. So this is a good concept for us because we're such a heavy Q run game. And again, up here at the top, you can see it again from a tight end trips formation. This guy it's not great here because of where we would play this guy, but some teams, depending on how they play this end right here, they won't even put a guy out here, especially if they think that this end sitting is going to keep the quarterback from carrying the football. They'll take this guy and use him in the box a lot of times against us. This is one of my favorite formations to run it out of. It's my favorite formation in general. Tight end with trips away. Some things that we like to do because it gets a hat on a hat, and we can still have some pretty good numbers over here. So this is my favorite formation in general, but for this play, it definitely is. This one over here, you'll notice we're running it now away from the trips and towards the tight end side of that. And again, because skill guys are following sweep rules, his sweep rule would have him arc to the first thing outside the read. And so that's where he's headed. And that's a pretty nice little play for us too at times. And then we'll go to the even side of it. And then the tag follow scheme. This is something that we stole from Oklahoma and installed it and didn't know what we were doing. And then we learned as the year went along what it was for. So because our quarterback runs the ball a lot, we get a lot of defenses that will tell their defensive end, again, sit and force the quarterback to give it to the tailback. Their tailback is not as dynamic as their quarterback. Our quarterback was a 4.5 40 guy. Our tailback was a 4.95 flat 40 guy, more of a pounder. And so to keep the explosive play from happening, a lot of times they tried to dictate who would carry the football. So our answer we figured out was this follow scheme. And again, we stole it from Oklahoma. They run it in the game against Houston from this past year a couple times. It was really good for them as well. And so what Q follow means is that means for our quarterback, you're going to ride the T, but he is not part of the read. We are going to have something happening outside the read defender of our normal tag game to put that guy in conflict. You'll see that we do it with a bubble from a number 2 or number 3 receiver. We do it with motion. We do it with all kinds of ways to where we tell our quarterback, if we get leverage on the quarterback player outside our read player, we're throwing that bubble out there no matter what. If we don't get leverage on that guy, then we are going to ride and fake to try to hold the box, and then we're following our tailback, and we get actually a kick, a lead by our T, and then a lead by our backside tackle, and then a lead by our tailback. So this is a pretty interesting play. It takes a little bit to get it going, but I don't think it takes near as much once we figured out what we were doing with it as I thought. Some problems that we had with it as we started out, as you'll see here. Here's your read defender on this. Your read defender bumps out to here because we know based on what's happened in the game that this end is sitting and dictating our quarterback to give to this all the time, keeping that guy from throwing the foot or from running the football. Keep the Q from running it. Get it out of the Q's hands. So we know he's sitting, so he's no longer even a factor. We don't consider him at all. Now, we did have him make a play or two because, again, you can't account for undiscipline or you can't account for stunts that are going to send that guy in there. So sometimes it still is a busted play. But in this case right here, what we're doing is on the snap of the ball, we're sticking it in the belly of the T. We're reading this outside backer right here. He's running a bubble. If the outside backer chases the bubble, quarterback rides, pumps the bubble to try to hold this will, and then follows his T up in the hole. And you see right here out of trips, same concept. Again, we know this end is not a factor. So we're going to read over our bubble defender. That's this guy. Now, if he enters, sees the pull here and the ride in the belly, and he enters, our quarterback just pulls it out and throws it here. But if he follows the bubble at all or sits at all, the quarterback rides, pump fakes to hold the mic, and then gets it up in the hole. And you can see all the way down through here from each personnel group how we go about doing that with the Q follow game. And again, we tie all these. Here it is with a Utah motion, which is my favorite way to run it. So here we've got Utah. It's always coming from the side we want to hold the defender away from. Some things that will happen is this guy will fall in the box. A lot of times with a single high safety look, however, when he goes in motion, he rotates back to here, and this guy will rotate over. So we're not real worried about that. Right here, they've got a guy already in the flat grass, so that's our read. So if while we're riding this swing motion gets leverage on this guy, we'll throw it. If not, again, we pump fake, pull it, ride, pull it, and run down. So that's pretty good for us. This one here is brutal. Teams have a really hard time with this because when we go from trips nub and we motion a guy, if this is a corner, this sets up a lot of our run game. If he widens at all, a lot of times we'll come back with just Q power up through here. So they start to where they're rotating these guys to allow for this guy to take that motion. But this is a really good way for us to get to this play because they hardly ever keep this guy out here to fall in and make the tackle. One way that's not as good to run this play that I found out will tick you off is coming from this side right here and motioning, because the corner seems to always be able to sit in here and make that play. And you'll see a film of that, how we learned that in game 2 this year. And then here we go again, and this is all just follow. So here it is to the right. So this is just 6 tag Q follow. And it seems like a long play. You could call that one name. Like I know several coaches call everything one name. But for us, that would be just basically 2 signals. So it's not that big of a deal for us. And then we can also run it out of our ISO game on the front side based on what they're doing here. So we've got several different ways to account for that and account for front side techniques. So there it is again. All right, and then our triple option concepts off of it. And we run all of these. It's not that big a deal to our quarterback for whatever reason. Again, but it might be because he's going to the Naval Academy and he's really, really smart. So here we have a tag read with a bubble tag. So now it's not Q follow. Now we've got 5 tag read, and we would call this, in this case, this is our Y. So this would be 5 tag read, Y bubble. So our quarterback knows I'm running the tag read part, and if I get a pull read, I've got a bubble out for my quarterback player. So it turns into triple. Here, down here in the middle, we're running it out of trips with the motion going back behind. This would be a Utah S 5 tag read. The Utah in itself is a bubble. So our quarterback knows that on Utah, I've always got the bubble out here. And so again, he's reading the end. That's what read means. Read the backside end. And as he pulls, the end squeezes and chases. He pulls, he attacks the outside linebacker or force defender, and then he can option pitch or throw out of it. And that's how we get to it. And you'll see some film of that as well. Right here in our tail scheme, we like to run this. We'll send the guy in a bullet motion, which is behind the quarterback, and he'll go and the ball will be snapped when he clears the tackle box, and we're still reading the end here. And then the bullet motion gives us our triple option deal off this. Now, we do run some pretty good little wrinkles off this too, that we run a fox with this guy is what we call it, where he's going to stalk and go. But that's not part of this. But you can also run some pass game off of that. There it is to the right. And again, 6 tag read would tell the quarterback that it's 6 tag. Read tells him now I have to read the backside end. And then in this case, we would have had an S bubble or even a bubble 2. And he would know that he has an outlet right there if the quarterback player forces the issue. There it is out of our ISO one back power scheme or our ISO scheme. Again, we're running that because the end is squeezing so hard and just hammering our guard. We want to take a little pressure off of his shoulders or something. And again, it's all the same. There it is with 4. And that's the end of that. So any questions on that so far? If not, I'll bring up how we drill that and teach that. All right. All right. So I'm going to stop share real quick, and I'm going to get into our drill manual. And this is we have one of these for all of our plays, but this is our drill manual that will allow us to do this pretty efficiently. And what you're going to see a lot of in here are the different influences I've had from different offensive schemes. So before you can get to these are the drills that we have to have taught before we can start drilling the tag installation. So for our quarterbacks, they've got to know the mesh fit drill. They've got to know that on 5 and 6 they're stepping down foot or downhill with their near foot to the quarter or to the tailback and presenting the ball and riding. And then we have to progress from that to the read of the backside end. And then they also will need to have worked option pitch drill and yo-yo drill, which is for us, yo-yo drill is throwing on the run. We'll do it running forward and backwards, and we'll do it running side to side, but just throwing the ball overhand. The running backs, you can see the drills that they have to have put in. They're part of the mesh fit drill. Split drill is for when we're in tails, and the tee that is opposite of the ball carrier is going across and splitting, which means kick out the backside end. And we would include read drill in that to where he would know to wrong shoulder him and go outside and take the next thing. And then we would have to have a motion install drill, ball security drills, and then our route drills would have to have already been done through either spring ball or summer or your early August installs to get to these drills, to be ready to run these drills, how I'm going to present them today. And then you can see the wide receiver stuff, what they would need to be able to do this, and then the offensive line drills that would need to have already been installed before you can get to this set of drills that are specific to installing tag. All right, so circle mesh drill. The purpose of circle mesh drill is designed for quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers to work on mesh points, reads, and ball security. It's full speed through the line, and then you jog to the next line. The organization and how it's set up, quarterbacks are set up 30 yards apart and across the field from each other. We use 4 stations. We have used 3 and we have used 2 and had to modify it based on numbers. But to give us numbers to have practice, kind of the way I like to practice, we have our senior high, our junior high, and our 7th graders all practicing together, which gives it quite a dynamic. And then this is one of the drills that everybody is involved in. So then the coaching points there, you can see the first thing is a quarterback. We want to exaggerate catching the snap with the eyes, hands up in an athletic stance. And you'll see why here in a minute. This is a great way to work on bad snap drill. The QB's first step, again, is dependent on the play that we're working. So you can see down there that he's got some choices. On 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, his first step is downhill. Anytime it's 7, 8, Rex and Lex, he's back. And anytime it's Rocket and Laser, he's back in a shuffle with the mesh. So for our ball carriers, coaching points are make big pockets and cover up the ball with both hands through the line of scrimmage. And once through the line of scrimmage, all of our ball carriers gear down to a jog. And we have one coach that's designated to walk around in the circle, as you'll see it. And they are on them about high and tight. And then they have to make 3 ball exchanges before they get to the next line. And he's coaching them up on that. And that's what the drill looks like. So you got a line of receivers or ball carriers, and they're working as snappers. They snap to each cue independently. So each cue is going through our cadence. And then our T's are executing whatever backfield action we have given them for the day. We usually do this for 1.5 minutes. And then they'll rotate or change backfield actions or rotate directions. So in this case, we would say we're running 6. So the quarterback knows I'm stepping downhill with my left foot. The T is going to come straight across. He's responsible for the mesh. There is no read. And so he's going to take the ball. He's going to go full speed with 2 hands covering it up through the line of scrimmage. And then from here to here, he's working ball exchanges. We also have kind of played with this a little bit where when they get to the line of scrimmage, before they gear it down, they have to do one finishing move. They can cover up, get behind their pads and do a high knee truck. They can do a Heisman. They can do a hurdle. Even though it's a flag, they still like to do it. They can spin and then get into their ball exchanges. So that's kind of one way we do that. And then if it were cut action, the T would line up over here, take the ball and cut back. It's not drawn up, but the Q is going to ride and then bring it downhill about 3 steps and then go back. So you see why we have to have good athletic stances on our snaps and can prepare for bad snap drill, because this might be a 7th grade wide receiver snapping here. And so it's going to float or it's going to be on the ground. And we really don't care about that a whole lot unless it gets out of our, gets us out of our rhythm, because our centers sometimes make bad snaps too. So I think I've got it in motion. So that's what it looks like. And then as it takes off, that's kind of how it goes. And so again, the receivers snap it on the snap of the quarterback. T comes across, gets in line. Whoever snapped it goes and gets in line. This is from Denny Crehan's racehorse practice planning for the wing tee. They do this with buck sweep, and each one of these would have been trap, sweep, waggle, and something else. I can't remember what it was, but so we just took Denny Crehan's wing tee practice plan and put it into our mesh drill, and we do this drill every day for 5 minutes minimum, and so we usually go 2.5 minutes on one, 2.5 on the other. All right, so now we've incorporated the mesh read part of it. So the very first basic way would have been just this mesh with no read. Here's the mesh read part, and now we put a read defender out here. A lot of times that's a coach. Sometimes we don't have 6 coaches. So what we'll end up doing is putting one of these receivers. We'll shorten this line or shorten this line, and our read will then go to be the next tee. And he is just giving them. They know that their only 2 choices are to squeeze down here or to sit, and that's kind of what we give them to do. And so they get pretty good at it. Just the receivers and stuff. And then here's the Rex read. So now we're running Rex, which is right end. So now he's playing the right end, and the tee is running sweep. And our quarterback, again, he is stepping back because it's Rex, and he is reading this right end, and now he knows his reads are either down or chase the sweep. And our quarterback knows if he pulls it, I'm replacing my blocking scheme on this. So that's how we get to that. Here's how we get to our rope, which is right option on the end. And the drill structure stays up the same. And now the read still knows I either attack the quarterback or I widen out with the tee. And again, once he pitches it, ball exchanges to get to this line. So here it is with jet sweep. Now they move out to a wide receiver position, and we run the exact same drill using jet sweep as our backfield mesh. Now, obviously, we don't do each one of these every day. It's kind of dependent on what our installs are, what we think's big in the week. And we do this 3 days a week for 5 minutes. So we can do 3 different ones each week. If we feel pretty good about it, we will actually cut down to a minute and do 2 a day. We'll do a minute of, say, base backfield actions, and then a minute of the mirror to it. So we might do 6 for a minute, then 5 for a minute, and then add 5 cut and 6 cut to knock out 2 backfield actions without any reads in the same day. So that's how we drill that. Here's our running back double team drill. This is for our running back to read our gap double teams and hit the correct hole. And it's full speed through the line of scrimmage, jog 10 yards, and then move to the read linebacker position. We have our running back move to the read linebacker position because from there he's going to get in line with our running back. And we just tell him when you go to get in line when the ball snapped, go either here or here. And the ball carrier is going to cut opposite that. You have to have some cones, some cans, or a line of scrimmage hose to do this drill. Your Q and T are in the backfield and a simulated linebacker at depth. The T focuses on the mesh point until the ball is secure, and then he reads the I got play side here, but that's wrong. It should be the backside inside linebacker. I apologize for that. And he is reading him for either a cut back into A gap or to continue on out into the B, C gap entry that he would have. Ball carriers make a big pocket. They're responsible for any mesh, cover up the ball through the line of scrimmage, and then they can make 3 ball exchanges as they come back to the read position here. So this is what the drill looks like if you have cans. And so this is this linebacker should actually be over here. So because if he scrapes over here, we have the backside guard pulling or backside tackle pulling to take care of him. So he's actually here. So as he comes, if this guy enters into A gap, our double team inside part should come off and get him. So he's going to continue on outside. But if he scrapes over the top of that, we're going to put our foot in the ground and wind it back. All right, here's the offensive line double team drill that we do for it. It looks like this. We break it up into 2 stations. This is from our flex bone days. This would be the play side guard and tackle on 5 and 6, working the double team of a 3 technique. And so we break it up into pods. We will have the left guard and tackle over here working this, while the right guard and tackle are over here working this. And these are other offensive linemen playing a part, and they'll rotate in a circle. And so what we're working on here is double team. We're running 5, so this guy should never come off. This guy right here is working to center the guy up as this guy maintains our outside gap and integrity angle. And if he enters underneath, then the inside or the guard is always going to come off. Tackle should never come off in 5 or 6. And so we drill that over and over and over, and this guy will walk up. This guy will go over the top, and we'll talk about, hey, we're not coming off that. Because what we have happen to us more times than not is when we were doing overtake double teams, this guy would come over the top and we would be able to come off and get him, and then this guy would fall off and make the play for a 1-yard gain or a loss. When this guy was making the play, he was making it for a 2-yard gain. So we figured 2 yards was better than none or a loss. And so that's why we started implementing that. And I can't remember who I talked to get that from, but I had a recruiting visit from a coach from somewhere, and he was talking about, it might have been Air Force Academy. It was talking about how they differentiate between gap double teams and zone double teams. And I thought that was good. So we've taken that and jumped into it. But again, this is just a flex bone offensive line pod drill. And then we do the same thing with our tag pull drills. It's still pod work. Now we've worked the front side. So now we're going to work the back side, and they're isolated. It's not all together. So again, this is just the backside part of our tag scheme. And so this is what the drill looks like. We have a cone that simulates the tackle. And these are our backside guard and tackle. So on 5 tag, our guard is pulling, and he is looking to kick the end. And our linebacker is coming and staying inside in this case. And we progress to where we give them different looks, and you'll see that. But this is just for a base kick and lead. This is where we start. This would be day 1 of trying to teach the tag. We're going to make it easy for them. I'll go back to the coaching points real quick. All right, so some coaching points on this is the depth of the pool to react to the defense is the primary coaching point for both the guard and tackle. So that's what we're working on here. You must be able to kick or log, and the backside tackle must be able to react accordingly. So for us, what we talk about is getting in phase with the guard. So as the guard pulls, he is going to use a power pull technique, which he's going to drop step the play side foot and point his toe, and then he is going to come downhill. He's coming downhill because we want to kick the defender, but if he does squeeze, we still want to be able to log that as well. So that gets kind of tedious, and it gets to where it's pretty tough on certain guards. But the fact that they're not running flat or worse into the backfield gives us an opportunity to be able to hit with the inside shoulder and then trap that defensive end inside instead of kicking out. That's actually easier than the backside tackle's job to me in this. The backside tackle does not use the same pull technique. He uses a drop step and then crosses over with his right foot. So he's going to drop his left and gain a little bit of ground if we're running to the left. And then he's going to slightly turn his left foot and point. We have to slow him down. Sometimes it's not an issue. If our backside tackle's a big fat jug butt and doesn't pull very well, we don't even teach him anything different. We let him point his toes and run. But what we tell him is you need to be in a 1-by-1 phase with that guard. So we want him 1 yard behind and 1 yard deeper than the guard as they're pulling together. That's important to us because if he's right on his butt, if the guard gets a kick, then a lot of times the tackle ends up running right by the kick or running right into the kick. If he gets a log, then he can't see it, and he ends up caught up in the trash as well. So we try to teach them to maintain a 1-by-1 phase in they pull, and that way they can see and read the butt of the guard. The backside guard kicks, then the tackle has to put his foot in the ground and lead up. The backside guard logs, then the backside tackle goes around him and looks for any color. So that's kind of the coaching points on this right here. As we're pulling here, you'll notice that my tackle is pulling it a little bit deeper than my guard. My guard is getting downhill. My tackle is maintaining his depth so that he can see that guard kick, and then he's wrapping or wheeling up is the term we use for the linebacker. There may not be anybody here. That's the biggest problem we get is sometimes this guy's a fast scrape over the top and he's a non-issue. This guy will stop in the hole. We will sometimes have that guy go ahead and scrape on out with a kick, and then he ends up just having to lead up. We tell you to continue on for 10 yards with his eyes in and out. So that's how we do the base kick and lead drill. Here it is with a log and kick. And again, you'll see the guard is pulling flat. He's not as much downhill. I couldn't draw it as well here, so sorry. But he's not as much downhill, but when this defensive end squeezes, he's logging. And then our one-by-one depth allows the tackle to see that. So when that log happens, he continues to go on outside. And now he's looking for anything uphill or outside. If this guy's running outside, it's even better because now we can just wash him and get him on out of there. So that's how we drill the log and kick with the same drill, just giving these guys different reactions. And then sometimes we'll get a kick and kick. We get this a lot in a 3-3 stack is we'll get somebody sitting in a 5 technique on a wide, and he'll come straight up field. We'll be able to have an opportunity to kick him. And then you got a stack backer that's entering in here. And so when he sees the kick, the backside guard. Now, one thing is you can't tell by this diagram is there is enough space between this cone and this guard to simulate the spacing and splits between the play side tackle, play side guard, and play side center. So this is probably about a 7-yard distance from this cone to this guard here. But that's how we would do a kick and kick. So then we get into our QB read and RPO drill. And again, this is to train the quarterback to identify the proper read and reaction for triple option tags in the GT scheme. This varies based on the RPO we're working, but should always have the read end accounted for when we are doing an RPO drill. You can account for him in the follow game by knowing how he's going to react, or you can account for him by splitting him with another member, either another T in our tails or a sniffer. I see some chats are coming in, but I can't see them here. If there's something I need to answer, just stop me and I'll try to answer it as best I can. But the coaching points on this, the QB must ride the running back on end read side, play side knee, and then react based on his movement. The T makes a soft mesh responsible for any mishaps. As the QB reads and pulls, he's going to replace the end and get his eyes outside to the quarterback player, and then he wants to attack his inside leg. So this is for both read and for the triple option read and for the RPO pre-snap and post-snap reads. All right, so here's how we set this up. This is set up as a read with the triple option throw out to the first receiver. So we've got our read end here. We have our T coming across. Our read end is going to be given either a sit or a squeeze here. And so in this case, we show the end squeezing just to set up our triple. So the quarterback pulls it. He attacks the inside leg of the outside linebacker. And if the outside linebacker comes to him, he throws out here. If the outside linebacker chases this number 2, then he pulls it and gets upfield. So that's how we would run that. This would be from this alignment for us, the whole play call would be 6 tag read bubble 1, and that would get all this communicated. So we got 6 tag up front for the offensive line. Read tells the quarterback to read this guy, and bubble 1 is going to give a pre-snap bubble 1 to the play side and a post-snap RPO bubble 1 to the backside. Here it is with a bubble 2 tag, and we try to incorporate the receivers into this just so they know not to block the read defender. And anytime we have a bubble tag in our RPO game, it is always, no matter what, it's always of the outside linebacker with a block on the corner. So you know it's the same drill, but it's now just a different guy running the bubble because that might influence this guy a little bit differently. Here it is with a bullet tag, and this is both a pre-snap and a post-snap RPO for us. So as we bullet, if there's nobody out here, say safety's playing high, if the safety stays at depth and we bullet, we're throwing it immediately. If the safety rolls down, now our eyes go to the end, we read him and then attack the safety just as we would as if he had aligned out there. And if there's nobody out there whatsoever, then we raise up and throw it out there. Here it is with a lope tag to it. So this would be 6-tag read, lope, and that's telling the T to the left that he has a lope responsibility or a left option responsibility. And so now we're reading the end for the pull, and that play call again, the full play call to that would be tails to get that guy in there, get that other T in there, 6-tag lope. And that works pretty well for us. We don't run that a whole lot, but it works pretty well. Here it is with a motion roll if you feel like you're going to get that a lot through the week, which we get a lot because we see a lot of 3-4 quarters coverage, palms coverage, and when we motion somebody, this guy will rotate down. Shown here with a Utah motion, the receiver is actually coming across. So as he comes across behind the quarterback, he continues on the bubble. If this guy doesn't roll down at all, if there's nobody in this flat, quarterback has the ability to go ahead and throw it out there. And honestly, our quarterback will do that if that's our dude going. But if that's one of our less talented kids, our quarterback generally won't just throw it out there. He'll go ahead and read that in before he makes a decision to throw it out there, just because, the explosiveness of the play is better with the ball in his hands than his. So you'll see some different film footage of that. And again, the drill is all the same. We're still reading the end, and when we pull it, we're reacting. All right, so now we're getting to into some different RPOs, but this would be a slant RPO to a solo. So we still have our tag read. They still have a flat defender out here. So 6-tag read, and this is our X receiver, X slant. So our quarterback now knows I got tag read. If there's nobody out here, I can throw the slant pre-snap. If there is somebody out there, as I'm reading it, I pull it off the end, I attack, and if this guy comes up, there's going to be a window somewhere right behind that guy that as he comes up, I can throw that slant in there. That will get batted down at times. We've had it batted down, I think, had it batted down twice last year, but we completed about 10 times. So and then here it is on the front of the game is because our read for 6-tag is on the backside, our quarterback can't have his eyes here and here. So we will always have somebody in position to block the guy that would normally be our quarterback read player. So in this case, we have a split right here, which would be his base rule if it were just 6-tag. So in this case, we're in tails, 6-tag, Y slant would be the whole call right there. Now, for our quarterback, our slants tell them to read the first backer inside the slant receiver. Our Y is the inside receiver, so we're reading an inside linebacker. So he is running a slant, and he's trying to get 5 yards over the top as quickly as he can, one step, and get right over the top of the linebacker inside of him. So in this case, he's trying to get all the way in the box to get here. All other receivers on slant RPOs run vertical routes, and you'll see that when we run right here, he's going to get inside on his slant path and get vertical to clear it out. And now we're reading the outside linebacker who is squeezing the crap out of our inside slant RPO and making that a very difficult throw. So now we just bump the read on him and keep everything looking the same to him. And so that's worked pretty well for us as well. And then we got the front side bubble one. So we're going to read this guy on the snap. As we're riding across, again, we're splitting the backside end, reading the outside linebacker on all bubbles, and then the quarterback will raise up and throw out here. And there it is with bubble two. So that's all of the different RPOs, how we drill it, what we look for, how we go about doing it, the different influences of different offensive schemes that we've used to get it all taught, how we can teach it efficiently, and that's pretty much all of it. So I'll get to some film. Are there any questions on any of that before I get to film?
Hey, Paul, would you say is your like difficulties when you start out with this? Like, is it a quarterback issue with the reads? Is it guys understanding where they're supposed to be and where we're going?
No, the biggest difficulty issue that we have is with the guard and tackle phase. Usually when the play goes wrong, it's usually because our guard and tackle pool was not good. The other thing is ego by our play side tackle. Sometimes our play side tackle will come over and tell us we don't need an idiot call. I can wash that guy down, and then he blocks down on the guy and gets his ass shoved back in, and now we don't get any kind of kick. That's up front. Our biggest issue in the backfield action is quarterback footwork. Sometimes he might step too far downhill, and our T mesh point will be sloppy, and we won't get a full ride, something like that. But generally, the read part of it is actually pretty easy for our quarterbacks. And we tell them, when in doubt, give it.
Excellent. Right on. Thank you, Coach.
All right, so I'm going to try to get to some film of this stuff. Yep. I know I can see that, but you can't. Hold on. All right, so I have no idea. All right, so at the top, you'll be able to see. So we have 5 tags. It's going to be counter tray running to the left. We are in doubles personnel, and it's probably, I didn't filter any good or bad plays out. So you'll get to see some of the faults of our kids and probably some of the faults of our coaching. Like right here, our quarterback and running back depth is wrong. Our tailback is kind of cheating right here. He should be right beside. And the quarterback should step down when he takes this, but probably not going to happen with our tailback that far in depth. A mesh point probably going to be bad. All right, so you see right here our double team. And this team here, this is a team that I think they went 12-2 on the year. They beat us 17-14, ranked number 5 in the state at the end of the year. You see, the first thing you got to know about our offensive line is our left tackle is a pansy. Actually, that's a sophomore backup left tackle. Left guard's a sophomore. Our best offensive lineman is going to NSU in Oklahoma, and he's our center. And then the right tackle is a converted quarterback, and the right guard is a sophomore. So you're going to see a lot. This is first game of the year. You're going to see a lot of mistakes here. So we're not very physical. And there's no tag at all, so our receivers are blocking, and they're pansies. 80 out here is a sophomore. Matter of fact, everybody out there, I think, except for number 6 is a sophomore as a skill guys. Running back is a senior. Quarterback's a senior. Here's the end zone shot. All right, so you see, as young kids, you notice how much they're blocking with their forearms. We don't want that. They got out of that as the year went. But we want our hands inside and driving. And then right here, quarterback's reading that backside in. So this is 5-tag read. You can see with the stripe on his helmet, he's looking at this guy. This guy sits, so he gives it. See if I can find. All right, so here it is. All we've done on this is we've changed this to 5-tag Q. That tells us that, as I went over our backfield actions, that we're running counter trade to the left, but the Q is carrying it after a play fake. And the end zone shot. I don't have kids like watched one the other day on the counter trade with Coach May in Georgia. Man, I would love to have those horses in my race. Good Lord. Those are some dudes. All right, so right here, you see we don't get very good movement. Bad angle by the play side tackle. Then we get a hold that the referee doesn't call, even though he's standing there staring, looking at it, just because he's at our place. But number 25 right there should have gotten more of a double team from 78. He's too quick chasing that guy. We want to drive that double team and not come off unless. So as we're right here, you see how quickly he's off. We don't want that. This guy that he's coming off to is still way over here. So what we want to try to do is we want to try to maintain our phase right here with our post lead double team driving it vertical, and this guy's eyes should be here. So if this guy tries, what's going to end up happening is this center blocks back. If we stay on this double team, this linebacker is going to get a clear read right through here if we do it right. And when he gets that clear read hit right through there, a lot of teams will try to enter right there and make that play. That's when our guard is supposed to come off. We don't get that here. He comes off way too early. Oh, I went fast. Meant to go slow. That's safety making the play on that. We don't account for the safety. All right, so you see the depth here. You can see it from this angle good. Is our guard not pulling downhill? And that kind of screws it up. And he's soft as pudding. Pretty good job by our running back. This is cut backfield action. So our running back's on play side, taking it and going across. Our quarterback can still read this, even though he's not. We knew that guy was sitting, so we weren't real worried about him. And then here it is from the end zone shot. No double team needed here. Guys moved out to a 4-eye. We could have idiot called it. But again, my reformed quarterback there, number 4 was a little bitty guy they thought could beat our pullers and shoot gaps. They were wrong. He gets taken out. You'll see some jug butts in here later. Again, a 5-tag Q. And this is with a tight end on the play side. I'll get to the end zone shot here. But our tight end on play side here against an odd front, I can't tell if they gave an idiot call or not. No, he knew he could wash him down. All right, so right here, because of how the defense is aligned, this guy is actually in a bust. We should be kicking that guy. I don't believe that we had a call in to have him base out. But by rule, he should be down to that guy, and we should end up with a kick on this guy unless there's an idiot call. If we had an idiot call, then this pansy right here would say, I can't block down on that 4-eye or whatever he is. And he would pass set and go up to there, and then he would pass set and go out to there. And we would end up kicking that guy and wrapping to one guy more narrow. But we don't get that here, which is okay. We get a bust by our S. And now as we ride, and you see 70 stops, we'd have probably had a little bit better play there. And 70 just tried to run through that guy. Our quarterback was our best player, so he carried it a lot. So every scheme we have is for that. Oh, it looks like he's going to score there. Yeah. But that's a tag Q game. Here it is with just tag. And again, this is a tag read play. We have the motion called on it here. This is our, it looks like Utah motion. And so what I want you to see here is watch this safety with the motion. So his early rotation is going to take the bubble to that guy off. See that early rotation? The quarterback should see that. That takes the early bubble off. There's 2 outside the read player here, plus a 3rd that entered. So it's an automatic give. And from the end zone shot, here comes the motion. He sees the rotation. Try to get to that same play going the other way. End zone shot. See the rotation again by the safety. That's what the quarterback's seeing. Both safeties rotating pre-snap, so I know I don't have the pre-snap bubble. And we did run the Q follow in this, but we didn't really know what it was for at the time. Here it is right here. So they're sitting, making us give all night long. But they had 2 outside the read defender. So this would be our read, and he's just too fat to chase our running back and he gets too far uphill. And then this would be the next guy outside. So this was early on before we knew what we were doing with it. But on this cue follow play, we had first started out that he's supposed to ride this guy and read that guy. And if he chases the running back, pull it and then read that guy. And if you don't like it, run here. And that was too much. It was way too much. But then what we got was he didn't even read that guy. He just kind of wanted to carry it, I guess. So he doesn't put it in the pocket. And then 78's a big fat guy. So he's actually chasing the tee a little bit too far upfield, and he's sitting in the hole when our quarterback pulls it. So we learn from that. We get better at it as it goes along here. And so here, this guy, we should be getting our kick there. And so we actually had a pretty good play there and give it to our tee. But our quarterback was kind of doing his own thing there. Ball was snapped late. What's going wrong with that? All right, now here it is again. I just got a message that my internet connection is unstable. Are you guys seeing this film okay?
Yeah, you getting a little robotic.
So on this one, what we're doing here is we are throwing the screen out there right now to the motion guy, but we're still running tag inside right here. So basically, as we start the motion, you'll notice that the safeties aren't rotating as hard. And so our quarterback felt like I've got hat for a hat right here, and I'm going to get leverage on that end, which he does. So he got leverage, so he just raises up and throws it out there. And now we get, a little 5 or 6 yard gain off of that, help set up other stuff in our passing game. And trying to get to some other things that we learned here. It seems like we ran a lot against that team. All right, so here it is against a straight 50 front. These guys were 50 man-to-man. And I want to say that we idiot some in this game, but we don't here. So as we're going here, we got a nose, a 4. So we're running this. We're wanting to get a kick on that guy. He's going to be a hard squeezer. Nose goes opposite. Good job by my guard of going ahead and getting to that linebacker. They're reading flow more than they should, and our quarterback's out the gate. Didn't want our quarterback to carry it. Makes a guy miss in the backfield. Our T should be blocking that guy, and he doesn't. Our T was a pansy. He runs away from it. Anytime it's Q right here, he should be coming down and filling for the backside tackle. And he doesn't do it, gets a hard squeeze, doesn't whatever. He decided not to at 138 pounds. Quarterback does a good job making him miss, and then he's out the gates. All right, here's the bubble RPO again. We're motioning. We put it in there. Does a better job of actually riding here. But as we run this, we're running the 6 counter trade to the right. He sees the rotation doesn't happen or happens from the backside, so he decides to throw the bubble now. No end zone shot of that clip. Okay, here it is again. So now they are chasing. You'll see the rotation happen a little bit better. 2 guys go outside. He pulls it down, and now we pick up the T as an extra blocker. You see here comes a T, picks up that other linebacker, so we picked up the T as an extra blocker. You'll notice that we call this because this defensive end right here has been sitting. So he gets pulled in front. He sits, so now we're not worried about him. So it's all about this guy right here. That guy right there is in position to play the bubble. So the quarterback pulls it down and uses, we now have a kick and then 2 lead throughs with the tackle and the tee. There's our kick, there's our lead, there's our other lead, and then we outrun fat linebacker. Good deal. I was hoping to find some where I ran it off of our playside ISO, but I don't have any in here. I must have filtered it out being 3 and 4. All right, so here's the bass concept for us. He may read it wrong here, who knows. All right, so got counter tray going this way, got our guard kick, tackle lead up, and we are reading this guy right here. My quarterback's eyes look wrong. Evidently they weren't. He's falling down a little bit. This is Lex, so this is left end read. And even for a smart kid, sometimes the quarterback can be a dumbass. But we're reading that end. He decides to give it, and then all of our receivers are running sweep. We don't pick up much there. We have some better plays of that sometime later, but I don't know where they are. Okay, here it is with a Utah motion, which is our going behind. And that looks like it was a quick kick. So they're in a tight front, squeeze, quick kick by the guard. Not a very good kick. Show you from the end zone shot here. It's not going to be a very good kick. That guy squeezes. He kind of squares him up. My tackle's fat, slow, and lazy. I was hoping to see. Here's a cue follow again. Thought I had some more Rex and Lex in here. See if I can filter some out. Oh, I just had the one clip in here. So anyway, that's how we run counter tray and RPO off of it, and pre-snap and post-snap, turn it into a triple. A little concept adjustment to allow the quarterback to carry it when they're trying to dictate that your Q's carrying it or that your T's carrying it. And it's been pretty good for us. So anybody got any questions on any of that?
No questions.
Man, either I explained it too much or too little. One of the two.
No, I think
I wouldn't blow anybody's mind with that.
That was really good.
It was great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hell, here we go. If there's no questions, then I guess we'll end this. Paul, I'm going to get with you after this here in just a sec, but appreciate you all joining. I think at one time we had like 13 or 14 people in here. I know there's a lot going on right now with everybody doing like these Zoom clinics and stuff like that. I will just kind of pass this on out there, is that this group is all about coaches teaching coaches. It's free. We're not, there's nobody asking for money or anything like that. So, share with everybody, bring them along, and, visit the page. And we're trying to figure out what kind of information everybody's looking for. And then, our job is to find those subject matter experts, and we'll host something up and hopefully get some answers and ideas in you. But if anybody's got anything or doesn't have anything, I'm going to go ahead and end this. It is being recorded, so if give me probably until later on this evening, I'll get it uploaded and then share it on the page. So if you missed anything, you want to go back on something, things like that. So with that said, man, I'm going to end the meeting. Paul, appreciate you, brother. That was, again, I ain't lying when I tell people that I've talked to you multiple times and that you're very informative, because I feel like now I could come and call your offense.
Probably. It's pretty simple.
It looks great, man. It looks great. So with that said, guys, you guys stay healthy and keep looking out. We'll get some more stuff going. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.